Absolutely. Okay, so, right, so what is common law? Right? Common law is actually natural law that we all know, we've all got it written on our hearts, yeah? But it's natural law written down, okay? So, as I said, we all know what it is. It's all based on the 10 Commandments, yeah, from the Old Testament, yeah? We all know what those things are, essentially. Don't do any harm, injury or loss to people or their property, yeah? And do all that you say you're going to do, yeah? So don't defraud anybody, yeah? It's just rules for a harmonious society. That's all it is, yeah? It's literally natural law written down. Now, I've been sort of challenged by some New Ager types who tell me that there is no such thing as absolute right and wrong. But I beg to differ. Yeah, I give the example of, if you imagine you're sitting at a table, you know, having lunch, and the person next to you stands up and walks away, and you notice that they've left their wallet on the seat. Okay? Now you've got two choices. You can either take that wallet, take it home, see how much you've got, or you can run after the person and give them their wallet back. But if you were to take that wallet to take it home, you'd be going like this, making sure that nobody sees you. Right? And then you slip it into your pocket. And when you get it home, you're going to be, you know, you take the money out, but then you'll see all these credit cards are in there. Yeah? Maybe his keys are in there. Maybe there's a picture of his mother, which is probably his only picture of his mother. And all these things of his life that, you know what, you know it's going to hurt him not to have. And you're going to have this little pang of remorse if you're human, yeah? And you're going to know you've done something wrong. But on the other hand, if you pick that wallet up and you run after the guy, well, first of all, you don't care if anybody sees you. You'll be like, hey, the guy's left his wallet, yeah? And once you run up and give that guy that wallet, right, you will have this great feeling that you've done something right. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Right, so there is no such thing, or the idea of absolute right and wrong. Yes, we all know it, yeah? It's written here, okay? If you break any of these laws, that's what we call a crime, yeah? Any actual crime involves an injured party, right? There's no such thing as a victimless crime, okay? So any policeman who says, you know, you've just committed a crime and there is no injured person, yeah, it's not a crime, okay? I say that because the police these days aren't trained to know the difference now. They think anything that comes out of the mouth of a politician is law, and if you break it, it's a crime, okay? It's not, yeah? There's a difference between an offence and a crime, okay? As I said, crime's always involved an injured party. So if you break one of these laws, yeah, you will end up in court. Now, what you're going to see throughout this talk is that you're going to see evidence of what we expect in the real world, yeah, and then what you actually have in where we are, the Matrix, the clown world, yeah, the fake world that we live in, yeah. So you look at something and you see it as one thing, but in reality it's something completely different. So a real court is known as a court de jour, okay? De jour means legitimate, legal, not legal, lawful, yeah? A real court, okay? So in a real court you're going to find common law. That's the law that's practiced in a real court, okay? That's the law of the land. You've heard that phrase before, the law of the land, yeah? That's common law, okay? You'll find somebody who's called a complainant, yeah? He is the injured party. You get the accused, yeah? He's the one accused of doing the injury, okay? You get witnesses, witnesses with first-hand knowledge of the whole situation at hand, yeah? There has to be more than one witness, a flesh and blood person. As you'll see later on, a camera, a photograph, is not a witness, yeah? Because at the end of the day, if you're accused of something, you have the right to face your accuser, Okay? So if your accuser is a speed camera, well, bring a speed camera in here, I'm going to cross-examine it. You know, you can't. You know, it's not a real witness, right? So you get witnesses, and that also comes out of the Old Testament. That's Deuteronomy 19:15. It's out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall a matter be discovered, or something like that. You'll also find in a real court a jury, 12 ordinary people, and they are the ones who are going to make the decisions in the case, not the judge. It's always the jury, okay? And you get the judge. The judge is only acting as a referee. He's got no other power except for, you know, keeping proceedings, you know, moving along properly, and no arguments and that sort of thing, okay? He has no other power. And the other thing you'll find in the real court is that everyone is speaking real English language, so that everyone can understand what's going on, okay? The other part of common law, I said it's natural law written down. There are certain nuances, because the law is so simple, there are certain nuances that aren't really adequately covered by the do no harm, injury or loss. So let's take the case of murder, for instance. If somebody gets killed, you know, and you are sort of pictured as being the cause of it, the thing that has to be established in law is something called mens rea, which is intent, right? There has to be proven an intent to kill. And that's murder, yeah? If there's no intent, if there's, you know, somebody got killed because of your negligence, right? Well, there's no intent. So in cases, a jury would have to sort of figure out, okay, what should happen here, okay? Those cases where decisions are made on certain topics, they sort of roll into what's called case law. So common law is the straightforward natural law, plus all the cases that have led up to the world we have today. Yeah, all the decisions that are made, you know, in the courts. Okay, so some of you heard me spout Rice versus Connolly, 1966. Yeah. Right. So that was a piece of case law that established that you don't have any duty to speak to police. Okay, so that a jury has decided that. So now that becomes part of common law. Okay. As I said, the jury have the power in this court, okay? The one thing that they don't let you know is that the jury has the power to strike down any law the government makes. It's called jury nullification. So if there's a case that comes up and the jury decide that the law is wrong, the jury, just ordinary people like us, can say, you know what? That law is wrong, we're striking it off. And that law disappears. That's why they don't let us have juries anymore. Because the power that we have in our hands, you know, against corrupt laws. Yeah? Has anyone here done jury service?
I was just about to say, did they stop that then?
Yeah, I mean, I did jury service when I was about 20 or so.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah? Nobody's done jury service?
No.
That tells you, because, you know, you're supposed to be chosen at random to go and sit on a trial, but hardly anyone does anymore. They still go on.
Last year.
Yeah, they still,
Years ago,
they still go on,
Yeah.
but it's literally, you have to bump up a case up to the higher courts before you end up with a jury. Yeah? So they've literally given us a totally different court system. It's called the court de facto. De facto means it's what we have. It's in place.
Yeah.
It's there. You know, it's not real. It's not legitimate. It's just what we have.
Yeah.
Okay. So in that court, there's no common law. It's maritime admiralty law, which is the law of the sea. Yeah. Completely different law system. Okay. Also, there's the ever-present crown that's in the court. Usually it's got a big seal at the top there saying you're in a court operated by the crown. Right? You also have somebody who's the defendant, that defendant doesn't speak. That defendant can't speak in that system. He has to have a lawyer, a defence lawyer, okay? Guess who the defence lawyer worked for? The Crown, okay? You have a prosecution lawyer, okay? The prosecution lawyer works for the Crown, right? You've got the judge, who also works for the Crown. You've got the clerk of the court, who works for the Crown, yeah? Everyone in that courtroom works for the Crown apart from you. So do you think you're going to get justice in that place? No, you're not, okay? The language that's used in those courts are a foreign language. It might look like English, it might sound like English, but it's a foreign language. It's called legalese. Again, it's English words that have been redefined to mean something completely different. So we'll get into that in a little while, but this is how they trap you with deceptive language. You know, the English language is deceptive enough, but when you add legalese on top of it, you absolutely have no idea what you're doing, okay? So lawful and legal are two different things, okay? Lawful is anything that doesn't cause harm, injury or loss to people or their property, okay? So you can do anything as long as you don't harm anybody, yeah? Or damage or take property from people. That's it, simple. Legal is whatever the government allows you to do, yeah? Two completely different things, yeah? The government shouldn't be able to allow us to do anything or dictate to us what we're allowed to do, because, you know, as we'll see later, government is our servant, not our master. Even though they're acting like they're, you know, we're their slaves at the moment, yeah, they're actually servants of ours. Okay, so a statute, which is the legislation that governments produce, are defined as a legislated rule of society given the force of law by the consent of the governed. Now there should be three things that should stand out to you, okay? It's a legislated rule of a society. Well, a society is something you have to join, yeah? What society are you part of? Can anyone think of the name of the society you're in? No? Okay, a society, you join it, you get a membership card, yes. You know, you pay dues and stuff, okay? But apparently you're a member of a society, but we didn't know it, yeah? So these rules only apply to members of that society. But as I said, we don't even know we're a part of a society, okay? So the next one is the force of law. It's telling you that it isn't law, but it can get the force of law. How? By the consent of the governed, us, okay? We give these statutes the force of law the moment we agree to them. Okay, does everyone understand that? Yeah? An example is, look at the road out there, yeah? It's like, you've got houses either side, yeah? It's quite narrow. There are cars parked on either side, yeah? There may be a school at the end of the road, yeah? So, is it reasonable to drive at 75 miles an hour down that road?
No.
So, what sort of speed do you think is reasonable to drive down that sort of road?
10 or 20.
20? Yeah, 10 or 20? Yeah? Does everyone agree that that's a reasonable speed?
Yeah.
Audience participation?
Yes.
Yes.
Right, so now that becomes law to you. You've all agreed that, say, 20 is a reasonable speed for that road. You've made that law between you because you've agreed to it. Okay? Now, if you were to go down there at 75...
Considering I can't drive.
Okay. That would be dangerous. Grand Theft Auto. So, yeah, okay. Let's see if you can drive.
Yeah.
If you were to go down there at 65 or something, right, well, now you've broken the law because you've agreed that it's safe only to go around about that speed.
Sure.
And you've broken that, okay? So these statutes are meant to be kind of guidelines of reasonable behaviour. Yeah,
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that if you break it, if you go like 35 down there at 3 o'clock in the morning, right? It's not that there's no law against you doing that. It's still kind of reasonable to do that at 3 o'clock in the morning. But in this society, if you do that, like if you go 21 miles an hour and somebody's got a speed camera, gotcha. Yeah, it shouldn't be like that. It's just guidelines for reasonable behaviour, but they've morphed it over the years to something else. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the point is, if you agree to these statutes and stuff, or you confess to be a government employee, then these rules apply to you. Because, again, the society that we're talking about has employees or members, and if you confess to being one of these members, then they apply to you. Okay? It's kind of like Tesco's. Like, Tesco's has a rule. I think it's Tesco's, it might be another company, but Tesco's has a rule. If somebody's works on a till at Tesco's, they're not allowed to bring their own money to work. They're not allowed to walk into that store with money in their pocket, right? Because obviously they can, they can say, well, did you take that at the till, or is that your own money? So they say, right, nobody works on a till can walk in there with money. But if you don't work for Tesco's, does that still apply to you? Does that still apply to you? Okay. No, because you don't work for Tesco's. You're not an employee of Tesco's. That rule doesn't apply to you. It's only if you are an employee of Tesco's, or you confess to being an employee of Tesco's, now that rule applies to you. Yeah? You are a sovereign being, yeah, one step below the creator. You have the creator at the top, whoever you deem that to be. You exist one step below that creator. Right? Collectively, we create government. So government is below us, even though they don't act like it these days. Yeah? Right? So, we control government. Government creates fictional entities. Lots of fictional entities. Like, anybody want to name a couple? A fictional entity that government creates?
Councils.
No, let me...
The police?
No, this is more basic than that. Taxpayer, driver, resident, householder.
So when you sign up and you actually do like your driving licence and your theory and whatever it is, and you sign up, get papers, get your licence, that means then you are now a member, and that's why you have to stick to those rules in the road.
Yeah, we'll come to that.
Birth certificates.
Sorry?
Birth certificates.
Well, we're coming to that. Okay. So literally, the government create these fictional entities. Yeah. Right. Now, as a sovereign being, one step below the creator. Yeah. You have inalienable rights. Right. You have lots of rights that can't be taken away from you. Yeah. The right to travel. Right. To travel any way you see fit. Yeah. Anywhere on this earth. Okay. You have lots and lots of rights, right? But if you decide to waive those rights, that's the only way those rights can be taken away from you. Yeah? If you decide, you know what, I don't want that right, I don't want the right to travel, you can give it up if you like. Right? That's the only way that the rights can be taken away from you. So if you decide, you know what, I want to be a driver, that's one of those fictional entities underneath government. Government control those entities, right? You give up your right to travel in order to become a driver. You see that change in status? Yeah? So that's the thing about a driving licence, right? A driving licence, well, think about it. You think it's a certificate of competency. Yeah, somebody has tested you, right, and decided you are, fit to drive. When do you ever sign a certificate of competency? Yeah? When do you ever sign that? You don't. The person who's testing you signs it to say, I've tested this person and they're fit to drive. Yeah. But they don't get you to sign it. So guess what you're signing? A contract. It's a contract to waive your natural right to travel in favour of this benefit privilege of being something called a driver. You give up all your natural rights to take on the duties of a driver.
So what if we give our licences back and say, I don't want this licence?
I've already tried that, so I rescinded my driving licence. I sent a letter to the DVLA and said, I understand that I've signed a contract. It's not a valid contract, so I'm rescinding it, and you know, I've sent my licence back to them. But to this day, they've still got my licence on record. It's, you know, this system is like a fishhook. Once it's in there, you ain't getting that thing out. Yeah, no matter what you do.
So is it fair to say for somebody that's going to start learning to drive this year,
I was going to
not
say
only
this.
is there, just do what I do and not get one? I have one now, by the way, guys.
Well, here's
Finally got one.
here's the problem. Okay, everything I'm saying tonight is all very well, but you know, we live in this system that's run by criminals. Okay, literally, it doesn't matter. Those people running this whole system are like the mafia. Okay, they're pretending to do everything right and honestly and justly and everything, but underneath they're not. You know, if they get a chance to separate you from the herd, right, and do things undercover, they're going to just roll over you. No matter if you're right, if you've got absolute right on your side, they don't care. They're just going to roll over you. And the point is that because we're all so badly educated in all this, public opinion is going to go with the police and the courts and not with you, because they won't understand what you're doing. Nobody's been taught all this stuff. So they're going to see you as a nutter. Well, of course you've got to have tax, MOT and insurance. Of course. You know, because they don't know. Yeah?
Why shouldn't you?
So I'm saying, you know, we're being conned left, right and centre here, and there's no real easy way to not be conned, especially now when we've got cameras that catch your number plate and things. Before, you know, yeah, you could, but I'm going to get a sort of bit more into that in a second, so hopefully I'll cover that. So, okay, so I was saying, yeah, the legal system is all about you agreeing to it. Yeah. That's the key factor to it. You have to agree, and they'll go to enormous lengths to get you to agree. Okay, so it's one of the things they use is word magic, not just legalese, but in general word magic. Okay, so if I were to, Jeff, if I was to punch you in the face, right, punch you really hard in the face, right, is that a crime?
Yeah.
Yes, it's harm, injury, and loss. Yeah. Okay. But if I was to say, hey Jeff, do you mind if I punch you in the face? And you say, yeah, that'd be great. And I go, bang, right? Is that a crime? No, because he agreed to it. Okay. Now, so let's imagine I've just walked in with a beautiful dolly bird. Right? Okay. And I say, hey Jeff, I'm Dave, and I run a massage service. I'm a master at massage service. Do you know much about massage?
Not really.
Right, well, let me tell you all about it. Yeah? Our masseurs, and I point to our dolly bird over here, our masseurs, well, they apply pressure to the skin when we find tightness under the skin. Yeah? And we sometimes, you know, it's quite violent because we have to do this chopping motion. Sometimes we have to get our knuckles in there and really just to get rid of that tightness. So you've heard that sort of thing before about massage? Yeah. So would you mind would you mind having a free service? You know, a massage. Dolly bird back here. Would you like to have a free massage? You know, whenever we see any tightness in your body.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Bang. Right. Well, I told you that I was the masseur. I didn't say she was. Right? And I've just explained to you a process where I can put my hands on you violently because I just saw some tightness on your nose. You see what I'm saying? And that's a facetious example, but it's word magic to get you thinking about something else when in reality
Distraction.
I've just got your agreement to do something else to you. Yeah? So this is what they do. The birth certificate is literally evidence that you're a government employee. Okay? Your parents, you know, not knowing any better, registered you, registered your birth. Okay? Now the word register means something else, it's legalese again. Okay? Previously to the birth certificate, people would record births and deaths and marriages in a family Bible. Okay, I saw one just the other week actually. It was a beautiful old Bible, right in the middle of this book, with these blank pages, and this family lineage was detailed in this book. This is what they used to do. The word register means to hand over title ownership of whatever you're registering to whoever you're registering with. Right? So when your parents, and it says on the form, the application form, informant, right? So when your parents inform on you, right, they actually hand you over to the state. That's why, you know, the state can come in and take your children, right? Because they literally own them, right, according to this birth certificate. Okay? It's evidence that you are one of these fictional entities. Yeah?
I have actually have two German birth certificates which disagree with each other, but I don't have a British birth certificate. So, who does own me?
The German government.
Okay, so they're far away.
Yeah, but they No, but for instance, if you're an American, it doesn't matter where you go in the world, they're going to take taxes from you.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
Oh, so you still pay taxes in Germany?
No, the Germans don't. It's only America and a small African country that tax worldwide income even if you do not live in the country.
Right.
But I have an American friend and she constantly has to file tax returns with the IRS.
Yes.
But the Germans don't do that. Neither do the British.
That's the point, yeah. This is what Americans do, but the point is that they own you, right? They believe they own you with this birth certificate. So the Americans say, it doesn't matter where you go, it doesn't matter where you work, you're going to pay us money. Yeah?
But my question is, the British do not own me. So I have no British birth certificate. I have national insurance number. Does that matter?
Well, here's the thing. There are no countries anymore. There's not been countries for a long time. We just believe they are. Yeah? There's been a worldwide system in place, but we think they're separate countries. They're not. Yeah. Where was I? Okay. I don't know if
We're talking about register and over form.
Oh right, yes. So yeah, it's literally a legal term for giving away your property. And now, right, you're no longer the mother and father. You are the pair that rents them.
Parents.
Okay. It's the same as when you think.
What is it then? You know, so if you are married after you had children, you then have to go back and re-register them.
Well, even if you have children in a hospital, right, they will start trying, forcing you to get registered. It doesn't matter if you're married or not.
No,
Okay.
but they ask you to go back after to be registered with both names on there,
Okay.
married names.
Yes.
To then have response, both have to say, I don't know.
Guess why?
We've never done it.
Because what do you do with your marriage? You register it.
Register your marriage.
Your marriage is owned by the state. Yeah, you enter a three-way partnership with the state. Okay, and the state takes ownership or has a share in the products of that marriage.
And that's why it's so hard to get divorced.
I was going to say, so when you divorce, they don't. That's it.
It's a corporate merger you're entering into. Yeah. So how this came about, right? It happened in a time when they were actually operating two false flag events. Yeah, the Great Plague. Yeah, and the Fire of London. During the Fire of London, right, when half of London was burning down, guess what was happening? The government was sitting and they passed a law in French so that people didn't understand it, yeah, called the Sesta KV Act of 1666. 1666. Yeah. So the Cessna KV Act of 1666 basically declared everyone dead, because their reasoning was, we don't, you know, there's all this death happening, we don't know who's alive and who's dead. So we're going to declare everyone dead, right? And we, the government, are going to take everyone's share of the country and administer it, because we think everyone's dead. They left a provision in there that if you present yourself by the age of 7 to the state, then you could reclaim your share of the country. But they didn't show how to do that. Again, and it was in French, so nobody knew what was going on anyway, right? So they created this thing called the birth certificate, right? Because governments cannot deal with flesh and blood humans, you know, men and women. Okay? They can't deal with them, okay? Because they're a fictional entity. They can only deal with other fictional entities, yeah, like corporations. What's the word corporation? Corp is in the dead body. That's what a corporation is. It's a dead entity. Yeah. So they created, when they made the birth certificate represents a dead entity in your name. Okay? So it's your name in all capital letters, which is not your name. Yeah? It's spelled wrong. They haven't taught us grammar properly. Yeah? If your name is all capital letters, it's not you. It's spelled wrong. Okay? Just like, okay, if you spell law with a capital L, well, that's a proper noun. It means the law. Okay? If you spell law with a lowercase l, it means rule, directive, preference, you know, not the law. Yeah? It's a common noun. Okay? But again, we're not really taught properly about grammar. So when you see your name in all capital letters, it's not you. Right? It's a corporation that the government created in your name. Okay? And every time you open a letter, or you get a letter that's a bill or anything official, you'll notice it will be in all capital letters. Saying that, now that the you know, free men on the land and all that, we started to notice that they're all in capital letters. They started putting in mixed case, but they add a title.
Yeah.
Mr.
Yeah.
Which
Right.
is in all
Well, it doesn't have to be. It's a title. So has anybody wondered why, you know, what the word Mr. is?
Missing? Something to do with missing?
No. Okay. Well, let's step back a second. Before the age of 7, you had a different title. Do you know what that was? Master.
Yeah.
Children are always as master.
Exactly.
John is always
But
master.
think about what that means. A master can't be arrested. A master can't be fined.
So as soon as you get to 18, it changes to
No, it's 7.
Oh, 7.
Yes. So masters are masters. So they can't be fined, they can't be arrested, they can't be, you know, imprisoned or anything. They're masters.
So is that saying if you get a master's degree or?
No, that's the same.
Try.
But this is a title that's applied to us, yeah? So until the age of 7, you're a master. As soon as you get to that age, right, you become a mister, okay? So again, we don't know what the word mister, because all we see is the abbreviation, MR, yeah? But if you look it up, the word mister, M-I-S-T-E-R, right, means somebody who's engaged in mystery. M-I-S-T-E-R-Y, yeah? If you look up the word mystery, it means a trade or a business. Yeah? Again, government can only deal with commerce and trade, yeah? So you become, when you take on that title, you become a business, somebody working in a business, yeah? The system doesn't really regard women very highly, okay? So what's your title before you get married?
Miss.
What does that mean? Ignore.
Missing.
Ignore, forget, don't regard. Miss.
Miss it off.
Miss out. Yeah? So when you get married, what do you become?
Mrs.
Have you ever thought of what that word means? Well, add an apostrophe between the
Misters.
R and S. Misters. Belonging to the company. Belonging to the trade.
Buttons.
Well, that's a made-up one. It's because of the feminist movement.
Oh,
But
okay.
the system doesn't really regard that. But it's not Mrs. It's Misters. Belonging to the mystery, belonging to the trade or company. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of this stuff that we literally just assume we know something about, but we're just bumbling through this world. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this title, this we call it a straw man. Yeah. This entity that they create, this corporation, is like your piece, your piece in the game of Monopoly. Yeah. You can't physically jump on the Monopoly board and walk around it. Yeah. You have to have a piece, whether it's the old boot or the racing car or something. That corporation, that mister, that straw man is your playing piece to play this game of maritime admiralty law, or this system that we find ourselves in. So it's all about consent, as I said. It's all about consent, and it's all about contracts. Okay, so let's have a look at this legalese thing. As I said, it's a foreign language, right? Looks like English, sounds like English, but it's every single word in that language has been redefined, so you don't know what you're really talking about. Yeah, it's a language that only lawyers are trained to interpret. That's why you need a lawyer in their system, because you have no idea what's being said in that setting. So I've mentioned register, yeah. I mentioned a person. A person is, you think you're a person, you're not. A person means corporation. Yeah? So if you say you're a person, in court, you're admitting to being that corporation. Okay? Remember I said about taking on the identity of a government-created entity? Yeah? It's like an overcoat. Okay? The government and the legal system can do anything they want with this overcoat because they created it. Yeah? If you put that overcoat on, if you take it on and say, oh yeah, that's me, right? You put that overcoat on, now it can grab that overcoat with you in it, throw it in jail, or fine it, or do anything they want to it, with you in it, taking responsibility for it. Okay? So the trick is not to put that overcoat on. Okay? So a person, again, is not you. It's this fictional straw man character. I didn't mention the word identify. We think it just means to recognise or something like that.
Yeah.
No, it means to make the same as. So again, sovereign being. Yeah. If you make yourself the same as, or identify yourself, you make yourself the same as one of these fictional entities. So when a policeman stops you and says, you're driving, or travelling in your car,
Yeah.
and the policeman stops you and says, can I see your licence? Right? As soon as you show them your licence, now you've identified yourself as a driver. So you're no longer travelling on the roads, yeah, exercising your natural right to travel. Now you've just confessed to being a driver. Now you've got rules to follow. Okay? So that's what identify means. The word summons. We think we know what that means. It's some obligation to appear at court.
Yeah.
The word summons means invitation. So you're just being invited to come to court. Though it sounds in your mind that you have to do it. Along the similar lines, the word must actually is synonymous with may.
Yeah.
So when you see on some official piece of paper, it says you must do this.
Yeah.
You may if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's trickery. It's just getting you to think, oh, I've got an obligation to do this. The one that most people have heard of is understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when a policeman says, I'm charging you for going 60 and a 30, do you understand? Or most people think they're saying, oh, do you comprehend the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Yeah.
That's not what they're saying. They're saying, do you stand under? Do you agree to be bound by? Do you consent to these charges? And you say, yeah, I understand. Okay, you consented, thanks a lot. Right? The word submit, when you submit a form or something, it means to bend to somebody's will. When you apply for something, it literally means to beg. And the assumption is that when you're begging something from somebody, you know what you're begging for. Okay? So, when you submit an application for registration, you are bending to somebody's will and begging them to take something that belongs to you. That's what you're doing.
Excluding this cult.
Excluding this cult. So let's look at like a driving license again. Again, we have the right to travel in any way we see fit. Yeah, the driving license is a contract that you'll sign waiving your right to travel. Yeah, so when you register your car, you're handing that car over to the DVLA. Okay, and what do you become when you do that?
The registered keeper.
Keeper, not the owner. The DVLA is now the owner. Yeah, you're just keeping it for them, you know, while they own it. Yeah. The same thing happens when you register your child. You don't become you're no longer the mother and father anymore. You are the pair that rents them.
Parent.
Sorry, Don.
Yeah.
We didn't know about it.
So when you register your car, you take on the duties that go along with being the keeper. Yeah.
But this is why now the old keeper now has to do it themselves and actually do it online, because you can't get away now with saying I don't want to register it. So they used to give you the whole form, didn't they? And you do it yourself and just forget to send it
We
off.
have to go to the.
No, they keep it and they have to do it themselves now, otherwise they get the fine for not.
For not doing it. Yeah.
They get the fine.
Well, this is the thing. They're trying their best to move everything online so it hides all the real truth about what's going on. And now you've got like this layer of the internet where all you can do is press a button or tick a box or something. You don't know. You don't know really what's really going on underneath, and you're not going to be taught about it. Yeah. So while it was still paperwork, there was a chance for you to sort of see through it and figure out what's going on. Let's delve into how you figure out what's really being said in legalese. So I'm going to ask the question: what's a motor vehicle? We all think we know what a motor vehicle is, yeah? Well, the Road Traffic Act, I'm going to have to read this off. Road Traffic Act 1988 says, motor vehicle is defined as a mechanically propelled vehicle adapted or intended for use on the road. Well, that sounds like a car, doesn't it? But did you notice they used the word vehicle in a definition of motor vehicle? Okay, so let's have a look what a vehicle is. You have to go to a legal dictionary to figure out what's going on. So go into a legal dictionary and look up the word vehicle, and it says includes every description of carriage or other artificial contrivance used or capable of being used as a means of transportation on land. Carriage. What does it mean by carriage? Okay, let's look that up. Okay, carriage, a vehicle used for transportation of persons either for pleasure or business. Business? Okay. So what's transportation? Because, you think you would know what these words mean, but, there's a definition in these legal dictionaries, so let's look it up. So what's transportation? The removal of goods or persons from one place or to another by a carrier. Carrier? What's a carrier? Okay. One who undertakes to transport persons or property from place to place by means of conveyance and with or without compensation. Compensation as well? It's sounding like a commercial activity, isn't it? Okay. So what's an undertaking? An undertaking, a promise, engagement or stipulation are made by parties to a contract. Sounding very much like a commercial activity. So let's summarise what we've learned of what a motor vehicle is. It is every description of mechanically propelled artificial contrivance adapted or intended for use on the road, used or capable of being used as a means of removing goods and persons from one place to another by one who has promised, contracted or been engaged to transport persons or property from place to place with or without compensation. That means your car isn't a motor vehicle. A taxi, according to this definition, a taxi is a motor vehicle. A bus is a motor vehicle, according to this. Yeah. So your car is not a motor vehicle by definition. Yeah. But you see, they've hidden that definition, so you have to literally go all the way through it to find out what it actually means. Yeah. That's how they're tricking us. You know, they're letting you assume that you know what they're talking about. Okay? So, by the same token, what is a driver? Okay? So, Black's Law Dictionary, second edition, defines a driver as one who is employed to conduct or operate a carriage. Right? Well, what's a conductor? A lessee or a person who hires the services of another. A hirer, a person hired to make a specific work, a contractor. Yeah? Okay? Again, it's sounding very, very commercial, isn't it? So what's a conductor? A person who engages to perform a piece of work for another at a stated price. Yeah? So a driver is one who is employed or hires somebody to operate a motor vehicle. Are you a driver?
No.
No. This is how they've tricked us. Does everybody remember tax discs?
Oh, yes.
Right. Do you remember there were at least two types of tax disc? There was P and PLG. Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what PLG meant? Private light goods.
Yeah.
Was your car ever meant to be transporting light goods? No. What it was is again a nod to saying you're using this in a commercial setting. Yeah. You're not using it as you know, your right to travel anywhere you like. No, you're acting in commerce, right? So you're taxing it. Sorry.
So it can treat you like a business.
Yes. So you're taxing it, or you have to follow the rules of being a driver, yeah, because now you're acting in commerce on the road. So again, this is how they're tracking you. Yeah. These rules don't apply to people who do not admit to being a driver. Is there anybody on the road who doesn't admit to being a driver? What do you call those people?
Travellers.
Travellers.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have tax, MOT, insurance. Yeah. Please leave them alone. Why? Because they've never ever admitted to being a driver. They're travelling, just as you do when you get into your car and go to Tesco's. Yeah. You're not operating a bus or driving a taxi. Right? You're using your car to go and do something. You're travelling. Okay? There's an awful lot of difference between travelling and driving. You admit you're a driver though.
Yeah.
Now you're no longer travelling.
So if we say we're travelling, they can't do anything.
Well, again, we go back to the whole idea that you've got lots of evidence that says you're driving. You've got a driving licence. That's evidence to say you're a driver. Yeah. You show that driving licence. Right?
Can't we just lose it? Can we do something really bad? Lose driving licence at the moment, we don't have one.
No, it's you know, again, it's like it's okay if you're walking down the road or walking by a lake, okay, and you've got a stick in your hand, yeah, you're just playing around with this stick in your hand, right, and you just happen to have a fishing licence at home, right? Okay, a copper can say, "Oi, there's no fishing here," but I'm not fishing. You got a fishing licence? Yeah, here it is. Right, gotcha. Right, doesn't matter you weren't fishing, right? You've got a fishing licence. You're near a lake with fish in it, right? You've got something that could be capable of use for fishing. Got ya. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about being trapped by this system. Right. So, does everybody know what the word traffic means?
Probably not.
Exactly, probably not. So most people really think the word traffic means lots of cars.
Yeah.
Lots of cars, yeah?
Yeah.
But there's another meaning for the word traffic. What happens when you traffic drugs?
Traffic.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, it's trade, isn't it?
Buying and
Buying
selling.
and selling, it's trade.
So does the Road Traffic Act apply to you? Buying and selling on the road?
No.
No. Again, it applies to taxi drivers, applies to bus drivers, yeah? Doesn't apply to us. Okay? Again, that's how they're tricking us, yeah? So, there are 4 ways to agree to this system. There are 4 methods that you can agree to things in this system. Right, the first way is a written contract, okay? Most of these contracts are hidden from you, yeah, just like the driving licence is. Yeah, you have no idea that you're signing a contract, but you do so anyway. So they're mostly hidden from you, right?
Oh no, it's okay. Don't honestly. I'm always cold. Don't worry, please. That's why I got the big.
Okay. Yeah. So say most contracts are hidden from you, but a good rule of thumb is if you're signing something, it's a good chance that you're signing a contract. Yeah. So be very wary about actually giving your signature away, because your signature is very, very powerful in this world. Very powerful. It's worth an unlimited amount. Okay. If you went to get a loan from a bank, let's say £10,000, what do they take from you for that £10,000?
Signature.
Your signature.
Yeah.
It's worth an unlimited amount, because your signature, it's called manifestation of intent, right? Your signature is worth your energy that you're going to use to pay back that money, yeah? Your promise to pay, yeah? It's worth an unlimited amount, okay? So whenever you're faced with a contract, always read it.
Con.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But always read a contract, yeah? Now, when I came back to England after living in America, I had to open a bank account. So I went to Barclays. I shouldn't have done, but I went to Barclays, and I said, I'd like to open a bank account. And they gave me this form to fill in, right? And they said, I'll just sign that and we'll open your account. I said, you know what, I'm going to take this home with me. I'll come back in the morning.
Yeah.
So I took it home and I read through it, okay? There are a few things I didn't like about it.
Yeah.
So I crossed out what I didn't like and I initialed it.
Right.
What I should have done, and I didn't, but I should have done, there are a few things that I would have liked in that contract. So I could have written in what I wanted and then initialed it, okay? So I did make all the changes I wanted, closed it all up, folded it all back up, went into Barclays the next day, and just as they expected me to just sign it without reading it, they accepted it without reading it.
Oh, really?
Right. So a few months later, my balance dipped under 0 for a millisecond, and they said, "Oh, we're going to charge you £30 for that."
Yeah.
I said, "No, you're not. I'm not paying it."
Yeah.
They said, "Well, you have to. It's in the contract." I said, "No, it's not." Go and have a look. So a week or so later, I got a letter saying, "We're not going to charge you that £30." Right, so that's the power you have. A contract is an agreement between 2 parties. Yeah, you have just as much power in that contract than the other party. Yeah, what's supposed to happen is, yes, you can read the contract and go, I don't like this. I want this in it, and blah blah blah. And then it goes back to them. They're supposed to read it and go, "Oh, I'm not sure we want this," and blah blah. And it goes back to you until you both come to an agreement. That's how it's supposed to work. But they've miseducated us and told us that we have no power in this.
Yeah.
We just have to sign it and just get on with it. Yeah. So they again, they have power over us. Okay. So, but the point is, you have power in that arrangement. Yeah. So always use it. Always use it. Even if you don't get away with it. Even if they say, "Oh, hang on a second, what's this?" And they say, "Oh no, we're not accepting that." At least you tried, or you could go somewhere else and try it, or whatever. But always try it. Always make sure that if you're going to sign a contract, read it and make sure it's a contract that you want to accept. Okay. One of the tricky things that is on some contracts is called the four corners rule. Okay. Anybody heard of it? The four corners rule is if you find a document, you got a document sent to you, and something is in a box on that document, it's not part of that document. You can ignore it. It's not part. If it's in a box in four corners, you can remove it and read the document without it. So if you combine that with the legalese words in that, right, you can have a document that if you're just an ordinary person who doesn't know anything, you can read it and think all sorts of things about what it's saying. But if you know about what these words mean, out of space or anything, yeah. So, yeah.
Because most of the contract now, obviously, they trying to force you to sign online. How
Well,
you can change that?
Well, this is why.
Digital signature, you mean?
Yeah.
This is why they're putting it online, so it stops you from being able to change it. Yeah. So all you've got, the only thing you can do is click OK. Yeah. This is why they're moving online, because they're slowly trying to make sure that they've got you in a box that you can't get out of.
Sometimes the conditions go on for about 200 pages.
Yes, and
Okay.
that's deliberate. They don't want you to read it.
It's just a load of waffle. Just
It
to
could
put you
say
off.
in there that it can kill you at any time. Or
They could, but they
still click
again,
OK.
they expect you not to read it. Yeah, and most people don't. Most people are like, if they even do, they'll get like the first line or two and go, yeah.
So is there a way of getting out of it if it's online?
Not really, because
Do you reckon you can request some stuff by paper if you're
you
making
can.
a contract?
That actually is right.
I've got to get student houses for the next 4 years. I've just signed up to one, but next year, if I request, because it's all online,
Yeah.
but if I request all the documents and contracts in paper form, do you reckon that would?
Yes.
How
Yes.
about also if it's online and they say, oh, we can't send it to you in paper form because they do that a
Yeah.
lot? Can you just say, oh, I'll print it out
And
and
send
then
it back to you.
then send it back to you? And then
Yeah.
that is
Any
the-
way you can do it that way, because as I said, they're
Yeah.
trying their best to close off all the avenues of escape that you might have. Yeah, and they want to lock you in. If you can find a way to bypass it, great. Yeah. So yes, that's a good idea. I didn't sort of
I've come
remember to
across
say
a
that.
few things on my phone. I think it was like the update for the settings and stuff, but it literally says like agree and you tick and then say okay, and it actually says in brackets optional. So it's optional whether you agree or not, but you can't go any further unless you tick it. And I'm like, how can that be optional? Because I can't use my phone.
And your
if I
phone dies.
Tick to agree and then
Yeah,
go.
mine's doing it
So
now.
then it's not optional.
Sometimes it is optional. Sometimes it actually is, and because you're used to this thing that that you always go okay. Some of them, there are sites that say, yeah, you have to do this before you can continue. But if you say decline, it still carries on. So it's like, it's just trapping you, yeah. So so in that case, always try decline first, and then see. Once you sign that agreement, now it becomes law. Now it comes under do all you say you'll do. Yeah. Now it becomes law. Okay. Now the thing about a contract, it requires four things to be in place to be a proper contract. Okay. Now I sort of reduce it to an acronym, FLEM. Okay. Yes, well I remember it that way. So number one, full disclosure. Okay. So let's look at the driving license, for instance. Full disclosure means on the contract you sign, everything about that contract, all the terms and conditions have to be on that contract. But on a driving license, the terms and conditions are the Road Traffic Act, which isn't part of the document you're signing. Yeah. So it fails on full disclosure. Yeah. Next one, lawful terms and conditions. Well, in this case, the terms and conditions are that you give up your natural right to travel, which isn't lawful. Nobody can take that away from you. Yeah, it's not lawful, so it fails on that. Yeah. E is equal consideration. So for every contract, there's two parties bring something to the table. Yeah, they have to be of equal value, right? A natural right and a benefit privilege aren't equal. Yeah, One restricts you, one gives you, you know, free access to everywhere, yeah? So, fails on equal consideration, yeah? Last one is manifestation of intent, which means 2 signatures. Both parties have to sign that contract, yeah? Well, your driving licence only has one, yeah? You. So it fails on all 4 counts. It's not an enforceable contract. But again, you know, criminals operate the system, so they're going to say it's a valid contract, and once you've signed it and that, well, you're in there, and you're not getting out.
So when you pass your driving test now, they give you 2 years to send it off, don't they, to go and get your paper thing that's got your photo and that on, etc., etc., if you've got the old licence type thing.
Well,
Why is that? If you've already passed, is that then to get you into contract once you send it off signed with your photo?
That's another trick they did, because if those who got the old paper licences before,
Yeah.
well, when did that licence expire?
It hasn't yet, so I haven't sent mine off.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It expired when you're 70. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't expire. I have the old one.
Right.
I'm not changing it.
Don't change it.
It says it on it, actually.
Yeah.
It says expired.
79
And
years
it's
old,
and you're
It's
70.
unlimited.
Yes,
Mine
on the-
it says unlimited.
Okay, well, on the English paper ones,
yeah, you know.
English paper ones, it expires on your 70th birthday. Yeah. And the plastic cards with your face on it expires, I don't know,
10 years.
10 years, yeah? So you have to keep going and getting a new one. So it's again, it's just a...
You don't have to do anything
money
for
grab.
it, they just want your money.
Yeah.
When it
Yeah.
expires, can you not get it? Can you like not renew it? Is there a way that you can get around that?
Well, effectively, you're out of the system, aren't you?
Well, have you still got your paper one?
I never got a paper one.
Okay, so yeah, so they introduced it so that you couldn't get
Yeah,
a paper
exactly.
one.
Yeah.
So now
Yeah.
your license never, you know, is never going to go to the 70 years. You just have to renew it every
Yeah,
year,
yeah, exactly.
every 10 years.
Choose, yeah.
So
But
if I get to 10 years and I don't renew it, it
well, no,
becomes...
because now they've changed
I'll
it.
show you.
Now they've changed it. You can't get around it. Before, when you had the paper one, right? You could keep your paper one,
There you go.
and if you even got their card, you've always got the paper one that says, well, no, I've still got a driving licence till you know when I'm 70. Yeah.
Will they give you a paper one if you ask for a paper one?
No, I don't think
They're
so.
not invalid. But they're not valid anymore, I thought.
It doesn't. They are.
If it says it on it, it's valid until 70, then it
Yes,
is valid.
it is, because that's the contract. You signed a contract
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's, they
Do
can,
you know, sorry, do you know how I know that, what you said?
Mhm.
Is because I went to have my car repaired at the garage, and I asked for a courtesy car. So they said, oh, we need your driving license. I give him that. So he said, oh no, what's that? That's finished, that's finished. I said, no, that's not finished. I was like, I'm renting cars with this thing all the time. It's not finished. Oh no, that's not valid. I said, that is valid. Anyway, long story short, he took it, and I showed him at the end. He said, I don't understand, it's in French, whatever. I showed him at the end, it's written permanent. This is permanent. So then he took it, and he was very happy with me.
right.
So, yeah.
The point is that you signed a contract, you know, when it was a paper one, yeah, and they've got no right to renegotiate a contract that's already been signed. Yeah, they can if you agree to getting a plastic one and giving up your paper one. Okay, you can agree to that if you want to, but I suggest you can't hang on to that paper one if you want. You know?
But, excuse me,
Mhm.
what gives them the authority over us? Can we not make our own licence?
Well, again,
We've given it them
Yeah.
authority.
Yeah, but can we that wasn't a full disclosure, was it?
I know.
We put it full
Now, I
disclosure.
did that. I literally did that. I rescinded my driving licence. I deregistered my car. I put my own licence plate on my car. And you can go onto YouTube and see, after a year, when I got pulled by the police,
Yeah.
who were waiting for me, as it happened.
Yeah.
They knew where I was going and they were waiting for me. And you see how I dealt with it back then. It's but this is the point. When I first did it, I was driving around with my own number plate on for a year. I had police behind me, and police, sort of looking at me and stuff. And they didn't know what to do for a long while. And then they figured out something, and they were literally waiting for me and you know, if you go online, you'll see how I dealt with it. Yeah. So where was I? Did I start on verbal contract?
No.
Okay. So yeah. So the next way is a verbal contract. Okay. So you often enter into a verbal contract by answering questions. Yeah. It's if they make you an offer and you agree to it, right? Well, now a verbal contract's formed. Yeah. So like when I asked Jeff if I could punch him in the face. Yeah. That's an offer of a contract, and he said yes. Okay, great. Okay, we've got a contract now. Bam. Yeah. So yeah, an offer is made and you accept. Now, when I was living in the States, my wife at the time was stayed at home, and she got a phone call from a company who was selling or giving away free magazines. And they were saying things like, oh yeah, we sort of offer you lots of magazines you can choose from, right? And two of them, at least 2 magazines, will be free to you. Yeah, there's several others that will cost so much, but do you want these free magazines? Right, so she said, yeah, I'll have these free magazines. But what she did, by saying yes to the free magazines, she also said yes to all the other magazines that weren't free.
Right.
And a contract was formed over the phone. And I only found out that one day I was looking at my bank statements and where's this $60 coming from? And it turns out that we were getting all these magazines and we were paying for them. And she said she thought she was getting them free. Yeah, it was a nightmare to get out of that. But yeah, a contract is a verbal contract is a binding contract. So these companies are taking advantage of it. So do not answer questions. Yeah.
Does that work opposite if you ask them questions and they agree? Have they accidentally entered into a contract with you?
Yes, it works that way as well. Because again, if you look at that video, if you find that video online where I get stopped by the police, right? The cop, there's a cop who asks me, "Can you get out of the car, please?" And I said, "Well, I'm happy to get out of the car, but I don't work for free. If you want me to get out of the car, it's going to cost you £20,000. Do you still want to get out of the car? You want me to get out of the car?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, hold on a second." So I wrote out an invoice, right, for £20,000.
Yeah.
I said, "Could you sign this?" He signed it on camera. Yeah. So now I didn't pursue it because life's too short. But I've still got it though. Yeah. And I can activate this at any time because it's an agreement. Yeah. So now 1 million people, because 1 million people have seen this video now. 1 million people have witnessed that I made him an offer. Him, the man, not the policeman. I made him an offer, right, to get out of the car for £20,000. He accepted the offer. I complied, right? He hasn't paid yet. I can go to a small claims court and say, look, he made me an offer on camera. Everyone's seen it, yeah? Here's the bill, here's the invoice. Yeah, he owes me.
Do that.
Sorry?
You need to do that.
Well,
The police just accepted them.
Again, there's that and a few other things. I had a choice. I could have spent the next 2 years chasing stuff and doing all this paperwork, or I could get on with other things that I wanted to do and not have the hassle of having the police victimise me because I'm having a go.
It's more the pleasure as well, knowing that you did it and it was that easy, that you're kind of using it, then actually just eats themselves.
Well, here's the other thing, right? I was going to get what's known as a commercial lien because they took my car, and on my car has a notice that says, I charge, if you take my car away, I charge £75 per hour, and so on. So I was actually racking up the charges, and I could have taken a commercial lien out on the police, okay? And once you get this thing called a commercial lien matured, it means you can take goods to the value of what you're owed. So what the plan was, and I thought about it really hard and then decided, no, I'm not going to do that. The plan was, because they owed me in the millions at that point, I was going to go to Hertfordshire, where this happened, with a load of car clamps and start clamping police cars to get my goods. Because what happened, there's a guy called Guy Taylor who got a commercial lien out against his council, okay? And what he did was take a removals van to the council offices and started removing furniture out the council offices. And the council were like, oh, look, they shut their office doors, you know, halfway through the day to stop him taking stuff. They called the police. He showed them the commercial lien. The police said, we can't do anything. So the council said, shut everything, don't let him in, don't let him in. And yeah, so Guy said, get a commercial lien. So again, I was going to clamp police cars, and I had a friend who had a removals company, so he's going to start taking these police cars and then line them up outside my house. So that's going to be my YouTube video.
That would be quite cool.
But I thought, you know what, if I did that, every policeman in the country was going to be targeting me, you know, and I thought,
You'd never get away with anything else.
again, life's too short, you know. Right, so yeah, there's a video. As I said, don't answer questions. If you're going to answer questions, answer them with another question. Okay. There's a video to go and watch. It's difficult to remember this. It's called Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead.
Yeah.
And put the word questions after it when you search for it on YouTube. Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
It's called Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. Questions.
It's a type of a play, isn't it?
Yeah, but put the word questions after it when you search for it. What you'll find is a video of two guys playing a game of questions, okay, on a tennis court, which is very fitting actually. So it starts with, do you want to play questions? How do you play that?
Yeah.
You ask questions. Statement, one love.
Yeah.
So you see, you've got to answer a question with a question. And if you make a statement, you lose, you drop the ball. Yeah? So it is like tennis, you know. First question, I serve, yeah? You answer with a question, you hit it back. If the person makes a statement, they drop the ball. You know, this is where we get words like, in legal terms, serve, service, yeah? The ball is in your court, yeah? So I've asked you a question, now the ball's in your court, what are you going to do with it? Yeah? So if you can, find that video and watch it, because it gives you training on how to deal with these, with police, you know, or any legal thing where, you know, they're asking you questions, okay? You can't sort of hesitate, you can't use rhetoric, you can't repeat yourself. It's got to be like natural language and natural conversation, but you have to always answer a question with a question.
Play that with kids.
Yeah.
To each other and play it.
So another way, the third way to agree to a contract is consent implied by your actions. Okay, so you can imply you're entering into contract by your actions. Yeah. So if a stranger comes up to you and says, "What's your name?"
And what's your name?
Okay, but if you answer right, to somebody demanding your name, well, now you've given them authority, right, to be somebody who can demand your name. You answer them, because your actions suggest that they have authority to ask you questions. Yeah. If a policeman says to you, "Or you get back," or "Stand over there," and you stand over there, well, you've given them the authority over you to command you to do things. Remember, a policeman is exactly the same as you. If you haven't done anything wrong, he's got no power over you whatsoever. He's just a normal citizen, right? I don't want to use that word, but a normal person. No, I can't even use that word. A normal man, just like you, and he has got no authority over you unless you give it to him. And you can give it to him by following his orders. Okay? So, one of the things you can say if somebody tries to order you to do something, a common way to answer it is, "Am I obliged to follow your order? Am I obliged to stand over there?" Now, ball's in his court now. So he's got to prove the obligation for you to follow his orders. Which he can't. Another way to do it is that a request or is that an order? Well, if it's a request, you can politely decline a request. Yeah, it's just a request. But if it's an order, well, let's change the setting. What happens if you order a Big Mac at McDonald's? What's the next thing you have to do? You pay for it. Orders are chargeable. So just like I said to that copper, yeah, I charge £20,000. Yeah, you can make up your own charges. I charge 50,000. I'm sorry, I'm very expensive. You should have checked that out before trying to engage orders with me. But you know, that's not what I charge. You know, do you still want me to do what you do as you say? So yes, orders are chargeable. Yeah. So it's always better if you've got like a handy invoice pad with you, so you can make out an invoice. But as I said, orders are chargeable. Nobody can actually order you to do anything because, again, one step below the creator, everyone's on that level. Yeah. So nobody can really order you to do anything unless you agree to give them authority over you.
Oh, I wish I did that when I got bloody
That contract there is with that individual, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, not respective of who they're working for.
Well, again, if you're contracting with an agent of the Crown, you're contracting with the Crown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you ain't
like when you wrote that invoice out, was that to the Crown? Or?
That was to him because he was, you know, yes, he was acting as a policeman, but I made an arrangement with him, the man.
Right.
Yeah. Because he's asking me, so do you want to do that? Is that what you want to do? Yeah. So the police isn't going to get involved in that. They're going to sort of wash their hands of it. You know, we didn't authorise that. You know, he signed his name to it.
Yeah.
You know, so the fourth way to agree to something is called tacit acquiescence. Yeah, it means silence. Yeah, you're agreeing by silence. There's a legal maxim in law called that says he who is silent consents. Yeah. So if we're standing here and Jeff is doing something illegal over here or unlawful over here, and me and Mike are standing watching, right? Because we're silent, we're letting him go. We're part of that crime now. We've joined in because our silence, we're accepting it. You know, you can't remain silent. You know, if something's offered to you, especially something's offered to you, and you remain silent, right? That silence is taken as acceptance. Okay. Sorry?
The census form as well, that if we didn't fill it in, does that mean that we've acquiescence to it?
Well, no. Well, okay. When you get that census form, is your name householder?
Occupier, no.
Or occupier? No. Okay. Do you know it's illegal to open mail that's not addressed to you?
Okay, right, okay, it's good to know.
So, yeah, who's this? I'm a householder.
The term they give that you have the right to remain silent.
Exactly.
To coerce you into being silent.
The thing is that this is a trick. This is a game. Okay. There are certain times that you've got this right to remain silent. It's good to use it. There are other times that silence will trap you. So if an offer is made to you, being silent means you're accepting it. Yeah. But if they want you to confess to something, yes, you can literally remain silent and not sort of inform on yourself. Okay. Yeah. So judges use this trick all the time. Okay. A judge will make a pronouncement. You know, I'm charging you with, or I'm doing this or that or the other, and what they'll do is they'll pause. And they might hide the pause by shuffling papers or looking for somebody in the court or doing something, but he's pausing for your response, for your objection, yeah? And if you don't object, he's going to move on, right? Accepting your silence as consent. The government do exactly the same thing. So let's imagine today's the 17th, right? They might say, from the 24th, we're going to implement masks, mandatory masks in shops from the 24th. Yeah. Gives you a lead up to it. Yeah? That time, that period of waiting is your opportunity to object. Yeah. And nobody objects, so they go, righto, then we're going to do that. Yeah? That's how it works.
Yeah, but if out of millions only, let's say, 100 objects, Does he do anything, or?
Yeah, how many does it take for them to actually consider the objection?
Well, again, we're talking with criminals who expect you don't know anything. So I can't remember the number, but there's a number. If somebody writes a letter to a politician, right? And I think it's either 30 or 300. I can't remember, but if I think it's 300. If somebody writes a letter to a politician, they have to assume that for every one letter, there's 300 other people. It might even be 3,000, I don't know. There's 300 other people who would have written that letter, but for some reason didn't. Yeah. So if 1,000 people, right, so 300,000 people, assume to have written that letter. Yeah. So supposedly, if you get enough people who are objecting, they have to literally multiply that to figure out what the feeling of the whole country. But again, we're dealing with criminals who have an agenda. So, was it 1.2 million people came out against the Iraq War?
I was just going to say that, use that exact. Well, I think it was more than that.
Yeah.
More than that march through London.
Right, but they went ahead and did it anyway. Yeah, we're talking about sort of criminals in government. Okay. They also use it with council tax. Okay, every single year they make an offer to you to accept council tax.
They tell you what it's going to be.
Well, do you know where that offer is? Does anybody get the local paper? Not anymore, but that local paper's still out there. It doesn't matter if nobody gets it. But I think it's March, every March in the local paper, the government or the local council put in, this is what we're going to do with council tax this year. And they've got all sorts of charts and this is what we're going to give the police and that, blah, blah, blah. That's an offer. And they're waiting for objections. And nobody objects, so, okay, you're going to get your council tax next year. Yeah?
But if one person objects, does that person have to pay it or not if they object and say no?
They'll just ignore it anyway. If everybody... Well, let's give you an example of how it actually did work. The government, if you remember, said, just before the vaccines rolled out, right, nurses and frontline workers were going to be the first ones to get this vaccine. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Did they get it? No, the government later on said, we've changed our mind. We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
No, they didn't change their mind. The nurses and that said, no, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
Literally en masse, they said, no. and literally they had to back off.
Yeah.
Because they objected en masse. Okay? So it does work, right? But the government aren't going to let you know it works. Yeah? So, talking about the police, okay? Now, again, we've got the real world and clown world, yeah? So in real world, we didn't have police, right? We had constables, yeah? The old Dixon and Doc Green type people, the sort of the best of us, the upright, good people would become constables, yeah? Their job was to uphold the law and keep the peace, yeah? They were the Bobby on the beat. Yeah, everyone in the community knew who that Bobby was. Yeah, and they knew everybody in the community. Yeah, they would be seen as somebody you could rely on, somebody you could trust, somebody who would help you if you needed it. You don't get that now, do you? No. Right? That's because we don't have constables anymore. They very slowly, boiling frog style, changed the constable to a police constable. PC, yeah? And then they changed it from police constable to police officer, policy enforcer, somebody who enforces the law, okay? Very different from a police constable or a constable, yeah? But these people have exactly the same powers as you do. They're just people that we pay to do this job that we're supposed to do 24 hours a day or for their working time, okay? They've got exactly the same powers as you have, yeah? They don't have any power over you unless you've done something wrong, unless you've committed a crime, right? Not committed an offence, yeah? They've only got power over you if you've committed a crime. again, policemen aren't taught the difference anymore, so everything's a crime to them.
Yes.
So, and you might have heard, you know, police don't get involved in civil matters. It's true. They're not allowed to get involved in anything but crimes. Yeah. So the Coronavirus Act isn't a crime. There's no victims involved. Yeah. It's a civil matter. So the police have got no jurisdiction. You know, they can report you to certain authorities because you've violated a statute, so they could report you, but they can't. They've got no power to do anything, you know, apart from report you.
And lock you up. They do lock you up, don't they?
No, but what they do, right, is so because they want to report you. In order to report you, they need you to identify yourself. They need name, date of birth, and an address. Okay.
Before they arrest you, or
No, well, this is the thing. They need to get that information so they can report you and then start process against you. Yeah. If you don't give them that, they will threaten to arrest you, right? And sometimes they will if you give them the authority to do that. They will arrest you and bully you into giving your name, address, and date of birth. Okay. They use all sorts of tricks to get you to give that information. They might even, maybe from your fingerprints or something, pull up a record, right? They still haven't got you, right? They've got a record that looks like you, right? It might have, yeah, it might have your name on it or something, but it looks like you. And what they'll do is they'll show you the record and go, see, we've got you. And they're expecting you to confess. They need you to confess to it. They can't just say, oh, yeah, we've got you, right? And that's it, we can start. No, they need you to confess. And again, just like I tricked a few people around here, right? They'll trick you into confessing, right? So police, my voice is going. So police need, they've got a flow chart they have to follow, right? It's the 4 E's, okay? It is engage, explain, encourage, enforce, okay? So they can't just jump to enforce. They have to go through the steps. Right, so those who were there for the Rice versus Connolly thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, you saw that as soon as the policeman started to speak, I said Rice versus Connolly, 1966. Yeah. Every time he opened his mouth, Rice versus Connolly, 1966.
Hello, hi. How are you? Yeah, I'm okay. I'm just following this.
Rice versus Connolly, 1966. So we're going to have an adult conversation? Rice versus Connolly, 1966. Okay, conversation goes both ways. Rice versus Connolly, 1966. Okay, so why... Rice versus Connolly, 1966.
Let's try and get everyone over there. Let's try and get... Go on then, we just need one person videoing.
Come on. Go on. Rice versus Connolly, 1966. Bring all the kids away from me. Come on.
Come on, let's go into the spoon races. Come on, guys.
Rice versus Connolly, 1966. All the kids over here, come on. Connolly, 1966. Rice versus 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 Connolly, 1966.
I didn't let him finish a sentence, right? So he tried to, anything he tried against me, Rice versus Connolly, 1966.
we all joined it.
Yes, they weren't allowed to ask any questions, they weren't allowed to engage with me, yeah? So they couldn't start the first part of their flowchart, so they couldn't proceed. Simple as that, right? doesn't matter what you say as such. If you don't allow them, you can even walk away if you want. Some of them, they're persistent, they'll follow you and again try and bully you, yeah? But you don't have to engage with them if you've not done anything wrong. Yeah. Okay? As I said, you have the right to remain silent in that instance. Yeah? They might disagree with you and say, no, you know, that's obstruction if you don't talk to it. Yeah? But again, Rice versus Connolly is that case law that says you don't have to speak to them. Yeah. Okay? And if they try and argue with you, you can ask them, what is the first line of the police caution if you were to arrest me? Well, you don't have to say anything. Well, that's basically the right to remain silent. Yeah. So, do you have the right to remain silent, you know, only after they arrest you? Or do you have it before? Well, actually, you always have it. Yeah. So they can't arrest you for not speaking, right? Because that's the first line of the police caution when they arrest you. Yeah. So yeah, you can tie them up in knots with that. Okay. So if somehow they've gained authority from you and they arrest you, your best course of action is to say nothing. Or Rice versus Connolly, 1966, no comment. Yeah, just give them nothing. The most they can do, right? This is again, as long as you've not done anything wrong. The most that they can do, is keep you in a cell for 23 hours and 59 minutes.
3 hours. It's 3 days now, isn't it? It's gone up.
They have to apply for it.
They have to apply for it, but generally
straight off the cuff, 24 hours. Otherwise, I've got to apply.
But the point is that if they've got no basis of holding you there, except for trying to bully you into giving you your name, address, and details and stuff, yeah, 23 hours, 59 minutes, yeah, then they have to let you go, okay? And arrest without charge is assault. Arbitrary arrest is assault. Yeah. Yeah. False imprisonment is also, is a charge you can lay against them.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a serious offence.
Very serious offence. Misconduct in public office, yeah, because they're acting beyond the scope of their office. Yeah. That misconduct in public office carries a life sentence. Yeah. We're talking serious charges. Yeah. So you do have power against the police. Yeah. So the main thing to remember is don't be intimidated by television shows.
Yes.
There's a reason why there's so many police shows on television.
I've always said that.
Yeah.
Every other bloody programme is about, look at the police kicking this door in here.
Exactly. They're there, those shows are there to program you to believe the police can do stuff they can't. Okay?
Well, they do kick people's doors.
And now they do because most people think they've got the power to do so. Yeah?
Charge them to my door.
If you hold them to the law, they'll have to think twice before doing it. They just know that most people don't know the law, right? Most people will just assume they can do it, so they get away with it.
With someone else owning your property and police entering, do you have the right to say no, or do the police? Because we've had that in the halls.
So again. So
if someone else owns a property you live in, so like you're renting or something, because we've had that in the halls where someone had a party and the police showed up and the security in the halls let them into the actual flat. They said they said that they were breaking the law because of not social distancing, but said it'd be too much paperwork to fill in, so they weren't going to charge them.
Right. Well, all they've done is intimidate a security guard into to giving them
Well, I think
authority.
the security guard offered it to them.
Well, there you go. That's all that's happened. Yeah. If the security guard, knew his stuff, and knew what was going on, he would say, well, what's your authority for doing this? And I don't, what's your reasonable articulable suspicion of wrongdoing? Is there an injured party? What's going on? Yeah. If he knew his stuff, then he could have stopped him at the door. Yeah. Yes. Again, if you've not done anything wrong and not committed a crime, right, they've got no power over you. If they do anything, right, if they want to search you, for instance, they have to have something called reasonable articulable suspicion. Yeah. They've got to be able to articulate, a reasonable suspicion of wrongdoing. Yeah. They can't just say, "Yeah, I want to search you because you look shifty." That's not a reasonable suspicion. Yeah. They need to be able to explain to you exactly, why they're doing it. They can't most of the time.
So when they say about stopping, like if you want to search your car, you have reason to suspect you have
Well, they're going to have to actually articulate that suspicion.
So even if they say we have reason to suspect you have
Yeah, so what is the reason?
drugs in
What
your
is
car or
your
whatever.
what is your reasonable suspicion? They have to explain that. They have to also explain what they expect to find. Yeah, and yeah, so literally, most of the time they're just saying, you know, we're just going to throw our weight around, we want to search your car or whatever. Yeah, they haven't got that power unless you give it to them.
Does that also apply to the border force, or is that a separate entity?
Border force. So
Yeah, for like searching your vehicle.
Okay.
Because that happens quite regularly.
Again, they're offering a service, right, to stop you at the border and check your car. That's the service they offer. Yeah, and it's like an adhesion contract. It's like the contract I put on the wall there. Yeah, you take it or leave it. Yeah. Do you recognise this from somewhere else? This contract?
Magna Carta?
No. Have you ever parked your car in a car park?
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere in that car park is a notice. By parking here, you agree to the following terms. Yeah, it's an adhesion contract. Take it or leave it. Yeah. So again, Border Patrol. Well, they're offering a service. Take it or leave it. You don't have to come through here, but if you're going to come through here, you use our service. Yeah. So dealing with police, if they want to try and engage with you, yeah, you've got Rice versus Connolly, 1966. You've also got Neal versus DPP, 2021, which was basically upheld Rice versus Connolly. Yeah, so that's another one. You can say, I don't answer questions. That's it. End of story.
Yeah.
They can ask you a question. I don't answer questions. That's it.
But can you say I don't understand?
You can, but it still opens them up to asking you more questions and trying to trap you some other way. You say, I don't answer questions. Okay? That's it. They can't ask you any more questions. Yeah? And also, you've got to be persistent, because they'll keep trying. Just like the police with Rice versus Connolly. They just kept trying to engage with me. And you have to be persistent. Don't go past that point. Yeah? Don't let them go past that point. Yeah? So, if you have to say the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, just say it. I don't answer questions. I don't answer questions. It's asking, I don't answer questions. Yeah. Another powerful one is, am I under arrest or am I free to go? Okay. So what they're doing is they're pretending to arrest you. They're pretending to detain you. Yeah. A detention is the same as an arrest almost. Yeah. So they've got no power to detain you. They've got no power to arrest you unless you've done something wrong. Okay. So essentially they're pretending to arrest you or detain you. Yeah. But if you take away that pretense, you know, am I under arrest or am I free to go? Right. Well, they've got to give you an answer, one or the other. Yeah. But they want to keep you there to try and get you talking, so they can arrest you. Yeah. So am I under arrest or am I free to go? Right. So yeah, it sort of limits them to a yes or no answer, a sort of black and white choice, and eventually they're going to have to say, oh yeah, you're free to go. Yeah. Or they're going to have to arrest you. But unless you've given them something, they've got nothing to base it on. Therefore, it's an unlawful arrest. It's an false imprisonment. It's assault. Okay. Or the last thing you can do is play questions. Again, unless you're very skilled at it, I wouldn't go down that route, because they can catch you out like I caught people out today. Okay. So dealing with debt collectors. Okay. Again, don't be intimidated by TV shows. What's that TV show? Can't pay, take it away, or something. Another one. It's there to show you these people have got powers and you can't stand against them. Right? It's not true. Yeah. A debt collector is a third-party interloper into your private affairs. Yeah. It's just some bloke coming up to you on the street and going, "You owe me 20 quid. Pay up." What do you say?
Prove it.
Exactly. Prove it. You know, who the hell are you? You know, he might say, "Well, yeah, you owe John. You owe John 100 quid, yeah. So I'm collecting for John."
When's the proof of that?
Exactly. John. Exactly. Well, okay. No, John could could owe John, you know, 100 quid, yeah? But he's coming up to you and saying, yeah, I'm collecting for John. Well, prove it.
That's John.
Give me the money.
That's what it is. He wants his money.
And we do have a poltergeist.
Oh, don't say that.
Oh, wow, okay.
That better not be my tap.
So
What happens when it comes from the High? Because they always say it comes from the High Court, don't they?
they'll say that, but there literally aren't court bailiffs anymore. Okay, they're all debt collecting companies. They might call themselves bailiffs. They might have, you know, very impressive looking letterheading and stuff, but they're just debt collectors. Okay.
You can't come to your property or anything.
Right. Yes, they've got no power to compel you to do anything at all. It's just a stranger coming up to you and saying, "You owe me money." Yeah. And they can't come into your house either. They can't come into your house unless you open the door to them. Right? As soon as you open the door to somebody, what you're implying is letting them in.
Same way you can only let like vampires in by inviting them.
Yes, exactly.
Blood sucking
Yes.
things.
Literally, if you open the door, the implication is you're letting them in. That's as soon as you do that, now they can put their foot in the door, right, and stop you from closing that door, because you've already implied you're letting them in. So one of the things you can do against that is there's a notice, you can search for one online, but it's called a notice of removal of implied right of access. Okay? Opening the door is implying you're giving them the right to access your property because you're opening that door. Yeah. If you specifically remove that implication, that's gone. They can't use that. Okay. So the notice of a removal of implied right of access, you put it either near your front door, or better still, on your front gate if you've got one, before you get onto the property. Yeah. It's telling them that, you know, if you feel you've got an implied right of access, I'm specifically removing it. Yeah, you do not have access to this. If you try to, infract, what's the word infringe. If you try to infringe this, right, then I charge the following fee schedule. Right, and then you can start charging them, right?
Yeah, I saw a video. Somebody did that to the police as well.
Yeah. You can specify anybody that you don't want.
They're on their property as soon as they go through the gate, aren't they?
Yeah.
Getting charged.
Again, it's an adhesion contract. Yeah. You're putting that contract up there, and take it or leave it. Right. If you want to break this, there's fees attached to it. So yeah, feel free. You know.
Yeah, they got them to sign something through the window and everything.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, it's really good.
So you know, if you've got a debt collector come to the door, even if the police come to the door and you haven't done anything, open the window. What you want? Yeah. That takes away the implied you're letting them in. Yeah. Go from a top window. Go, well, yeah. What do you want?
Here, Donny, not the door.
Yeah, not the door. Right. So the other thing about a debt collector, this is how they work. Let's say you borrowed £1,000 from the bank, okay, and you've stopped paying it, right? A debt collector will go to the bank and say, "Have you got any debts outstanding?" "Oh yeah, there's Mike Mason. Yeah, he's borrowed £1,000. He's delinquent." He goes, "Okay, we'll buy that for a tenner." The bank goes, "Okay, we'll have that." Right? So now, debt collector go, "Oh, Mike, you owe us £1,000. Right? And I'll bully you. I'll send some big guys out. "Yeah, you owe us £1,000, you know?" Yeah. And I'll try and bully you to hand over £1,000 plus their fees. Yeah? For a £10 outlay. So for them, it's a very, very lucrative business. And they will use all the tricks in the book to get you to agree. Yeah? And one of the ways they get you to agree is they might say, "Yeah, Mike, just pay us £1 a month. It's £1 a month." Yeah?
And you've entered in.
So now you've contracted by your actions. Yeah, you've agreed that you owe them something. Now they're going to come after you for the full amount because you've now entered into agreement with them. Okay. The point is, right? Because they've gone to the bank or whoever it is and paid for that debt, they've bought that debt.
So it's already paid.
That debt is paid off. because the bank has accepted £10 for that debt. So what you can say, and I'll go to the letter actually,